friends come and visit our studio? Catch them all in MuseTalks.
Hi guys, welcome back to MuseTalks. Today we have an interesting individual who is an outdoor educational practitioner, Haniman Boniran. Welcome to MuseTalks, Haniman.
Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for making your time.
The term outdoor educational practitioner, is it something new or it's been around for a long time?
Nah, I think outdoor education has been going around, or rather existed for a long time actually. Yeah, it's just that it hasn't gained much traction, until fairly recently,
Right.
where we are, when I say we, I'm saying in terms of the education climate in Singapore,
Right, sure.
that is trying to push more and more of this. But it's not limited to just
Camping.
and going into the forest, climbing the wall, you know.
Correct.
OBS, right?
Yeah,
The only thing
exactly.
that we know.
OBS.
Yeah.
Like, we will associate OBS with
Yes.
outdoor education and all
Yeah.
these other activities. But in actual fact, outdoor education has many aspects to it. Yeah, you have the adventure education in outdoor education. So that's where you go your kayaking.
That's the most common one, right?
Yeah, your
You're
abseiling
familiar
and
with
things
that.
like that, you know,
Yes.
camping, stuff like that. But there is also the environmental education part of outdoor education. This is where eco-literacy comes in, where the students are exposed not just about the physicalities of outdoors, but also systems about nature in the outdoor.
Okay.
Yeah? So you're not just learning about all these nature, animals, conservation, sustainability in a classroom. You're actually going to nature in the outdoors to experience it for yourself.
Observe and experience, right?
To observe and experience. For example, if you observe how a bee
Yeah.
lands on a flower, collects the nectar, goes back to the hive, and then the bee flies out again and then gets eaten up by a bird, for example. That's actually a living cycle that
Right.
you're observing.
Yep.
The food chain.
Right.
Yeah.
Where the sun's energy, that's your light energy, gives to the plant to create photosynthesis. Flower comes out, produces nectar, the bee eats it, and then the bee gets eaten up. So that's your producer, your secondary consumer, cycling all over again in a food chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eco cycle, basically.
Yeah, the eco cycle.
So how do you get involved? I mean, like, do schools engage you from outside?
Yeah,
as part of
You're
the
not a teacher, right? Formally, you're not a teacher.
No, actually, I have never gone through formal teacher training at all. I have a very, very illustrious and interesting lifelong learning journey.
Wow, lifelong.
Still
Lifelong
learning. Yeah.
I
Still
enjoy
learning.
learning. Yeah. I hate exams. I hate exams. But I love learning and I love sharing what I've learned with my audience.
Yes.
Whether it's an adult, whether it's a child. Yeah. So I started off being interested about nature while I was living in a kampung. at
Oh,
that
which
time.
kampung is that?
This was in Pasir Panjang Road. Long time ago. They're gone now.
Oh, Pasir Panjang,
Budak masih panjang.
Long time ago. So we had this opportunity to be exposed to nature.
Right.
All right. In all its
Yeah.
entirety.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Before
near the coast,
reclaim,
right?
yeah.
It's near the coast.
Is that
yeah.
reclaim?
So
yeah.
so I had the opportunity to go down to Labrador Park.
Yes.
And observe
Favorite.
what sea life was like during low tide.
Yep.
You know, your intertidal wave areas and everything. So that was where the interest about nature, about wildlife comes in. Yeah. Then I grew up, of course, going through the journey of a teenager and everything. You know. I changed my interest. I was interested in people. Then I took psychology as a degree
Wow.
to study and learn about the way people think, the way people behave.
Why?
You know, why do they do
Yeah.
certain things,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. And that kind of helped me to piece together why are people finding it difficult to connect to nature? What's exactly causing them not wanting to connect to nature?
Right.
Yeah. So that discipline allows me to see how when a society becomes much more modernized,
Yeah.
they start to become more disconnected.
Right.
with nature.
Right.
Yeah, because the goals are different then.
Yeah.
Compared to when I was in a kampong as a child. I wasn't distracted by a lot of things. Nature was all around me, and that was what distracted me the most.
Yeah.
Right.
No
Yeah.
phones, right? That's right.
Exactly. now you have that digital divide, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
between spending time on the screen and going out. Yeah. So because of that transition, I was able to so-called marry these two interests together. Yeah. And then right now, I'm actually doing another course of study. I'm taking up Malay language and literature. Very
wow.
interesting.
Sorry, just to cut you off there. You talking about Malay language, right? Because just now you're talking, then you mentioned learning language or teaching language, but in nature.
Yeah, exactly. So language learning.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Language learning is not limited to the classroom.
Yeah.
In fact, it never has.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were growing up, where do we learn how to speak? We go and play with friends.
Yes,
downstairs.
correct.
The void there for me at the kampong, you know,
Right.
by the drain or by
Yeah.
the big canal when we are looking for fish and all those things. We learn languages
Yep.
there. We learn
Yeah.
all the different terms, the nuances from our friends and the slangs that comes
Yeah.
up with
It's
it.
practice, isn't it?
It is practice, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So language learning becomes much better when there is an opportunity to practice.
Yep.
So
Agree.
these days, many teachers are having a tough
Difficulty.
time
Yep.
teaching mother tongue, especially
Yeah.
in the classroom.
In the
Correct.
classroom.
Because it's not exciting
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah. Berimbuhan.
Yeah, exactly. You know, your tata bahasa, your ibuhan, all those things. You know, but when you bring them outdoor, immediately children are drawn
Yeah.
to animals, for example. Now, once you overcome that problem of them being excited about something, you already have their attention.
Correct.
So you learn language through nature.
So you train the teachers?
Yes, I do train teachers on how to use nature, how to use wildlife to teach languages.
What kind of setting would that be?
Specifically Malay language. Yeah, because we are very fortunate to be in Southeast Asia, and this is where the Malay world is.
Yeah.
We call it the Nusantara.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're talking about all the animals in the rainforest in Southeast Asia, there are Malay names over there.
Yeah.
You know, we've had these names way before
But different.
colonization started, and you have all these weird names, you know, being
Yeah,
the
but-
prefix of animals,
Exactly, like
Raffles,
monkey, you know.
Banded, Langer.
Right.
We never had that. The Malay name for Raffles, Banded, Langer is Lotong Cenaka. Okay, Lotong is
Lotong
a
is?
type of monkey
Right.
that is known in the scientific community as colobines. They are leaf-eating monkeys. They're not like the regular monkeys you see in
How
Bukit
come the
Timah.
word is
Those
so
are-
near to lontong?
almost yeah.
Okay.
So
Lotong.
lotong atau lutong.
Lutong.
Right.
If you're looking at it in Bahasa Indonesia, for example.
So it's a monkey family.
Yeah, they're all monkeys. Yeah, they have long tail. They live up in the
Right.
trees. But these particular ones eat leaves. They don't eat fruit so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in
they-
English, what is it called?
Raffles Banded Langer.
Right.
Yeah.
Which one?
Why? Because it was recorded, written
By the person. By
the
Raffles.
person. Yeah. You never hear Ahmad's monkey or Ahmad's cat or Ahmad's frog. No. We have names for that in Bahasa Melayu.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have to know those Malay?
Definitely. How can I teach if I
Okay,
don't know?
okay. I thought
so
you
there's
just-
a lot of research that goes.
I thought you're just
into-
telling the Malay teachers, okay, you should use this animals and then they
They have to figure out the
provide
name, eh?
names.
Exactly. And
Right.
because of that, I'm taking this course of study. Malay language
okay, that
and
makes
literature.
sense.
Yeah, because I have to be competent in the language before I can teach the rest.
Your
Yeah.
first job, is it related to this? Like education
No,
or outdoors or?
Actually, I had a very interesting first job. I was dealing with wildlife enforcement. So it was a national agency. Yeah, it
the
was
birds, right?
Yeah, more than just birds.
Okay.
It was a national agency, but has been closed now
Right.
and absorbed under NParks. Yeah, so now they are called AVS. That was a long, long time ago. They were called Primary Production
Why
Department.
do they keep changing the name?
I have no idea.
They do
Then
the same thing, right?
And then after that, it was AVA, you know.
Right,
So they
AVA.
changed.
Yeah.
But essentially, the job requires me to do a lot of enforcement work where we work with customs, we work with CNB, for example, to overcome all these illegal smuggling of wildlife. It's not just live animals, but also parts like ivory, for example, or crocodile skin, for example, or sate kijang. Yeah, exotic meat, for example. Yeah. So it was a very interesting job that I had. And we also learned about international law that governs this, this trade. Yeah. So because of that, I became much more interested in wildlife trade. Yeah. And I dealt firsthand with offenders, with syndicates, learning about how do they move.
Right.
What
That's
was the
interesting.
most prized animal at that time, And all these are, I wouldn't say demand, but dictated by what was on the movies.
Right.
I give you an example.
really?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
give
there
you an
was one
example.
movie before, Tiger something.
Harry Potter. When Harry Potter first appeared, everybody saw that snowy owl.
Yeah.
For the first time, right?
Yeah.
So cool,
Barnyard
flying
owl,
down
yeah.
with the envelope and everything.
Yeah.
And there was a massive trade in owls.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
around the region. But that owl is snowy owl. You find
So we
them
don't have owls,
in,
snowy.
Yeah.
in the Arctic, you see, up
Right.
north. But over here, the closest you can get is the barn owl,
Barn
which is
owl.
light in color, white as well. And also the small, tiny ones like the collared scops owl, the
Right.
Sunda scops owl.
Oh, yeah?
So because of that kind of popularity, people suddenly feel like, I want to own that because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of social part that dictates which animal will be the most sought after next. Yeah.
Singapore, is it? We don't
Influenced
have
by
that.
movies some more.
We have owls.
We do have owls, but I wouldn't say that we have a thriving stock of, these exotic animals. But are we a trading hub? Is that why
We
are?
definitely are a trading hub thanks to our very, very
Location.
solid transportation system, our location.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
but in terms of consumption, I wouldn't say we are as bad as countries who are much bigger with lesser enforcement capabilities. Yeah. Most, if you look at the news with regards to wildlife trades and all those things, a lot of the animals that were confiscated or discovered at the checkpoints are usually reptiles or small mammals.
Right.
Occasionally you get transshipment of all these elephant ivory.
Is it still ivory and tusks?
Yeah. It still is. Yeah. Rhino horn.
Rhino
Right.
horns, right.
Right. And of course, the most heavily traded mammal in the world, the pangolin. Why? Tenggiling.
Yeah. Why is that so?
Because
very-
people still believe pangolin scales, they have medicinal properties.
Oh, really?
And they want to
we do have pangolins, right, in
we
Singapore?
have Singapore.
Yeah.
We do
Recently,
have
someone
pangolins in Singapore.
saw and put it up. Yeah, they're running.
So
around.
the good thing about Singapore is that our laws, local laws, the Endangered Species Act, Wild Animals and Birds Act, has a lot of teeth.
It's enforced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
enforced, number one. Number two, we don't really have an appetite for eating pangolin
Right,
right.
or anything you
Yeah,
know.
true.
So they're pretty lucky in that sense. The biggest threat to pangolins in Singapore
Yes.
is basically road traffic accidents.
Right.
Wow.
At expressways.
Expressway.
Right?
They're slow-moving
BKE.
animals. They come out at night. People speeding
Yeah.
at night. You don't react fast enough.
Yep.
Splat. Yeah. But in other countries, they are hunted for body parts. Yeah, not so much to be kept as a pet, but more for parts and derivatives, they call it.
Right.
If I'm not
Correct.
mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a recommended global percentage of greenery that a country should maintain. Is that?
There is
It's like 5%, 3%,
yeah,
4%?
in Singapore at the moment with I think as of last year, if I'm not wrong, 5% comprising 4 nature reserves. Yeah. And over the last 200 years, I think, Singapore has lost close to 40% of its flora and fauna. Previously, there was a study done, I think in the early 2000s. It was estimated in the 70s percentile.
Wow.
But they did a reassessment of that study, and now coupled with more intentional landscaping of our areas, you get to see species appearing, coming back.
Does that count? Like landscaping? Because some people will say it's fake greenery, right?
I mean, you can call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but essentially,
But it is a tree as a tree, isn't it?
Not quite.
Okay.
Yeah, a tree is a tree, but the function of that tree within the ecosystem, how appropriate is that? I mean, I can plant a cactus, still a tree. It's a plant, right? Is it suitable? It's not suitable. Yeah. So by this intentional move, you are not only creating a suitable habitat for the right type of animals, you are supporting a proper ecosystem altogether.
Right.
Yeah. So that's very, very important. So eco-literacy teaches you all that. Because through this systems learning and thinking system, we call it, right? Where you learn how cycles work, how matters work, how things move. It helps you to make your decision in policy making.
All right.
I give you an example. If you know how matter and carbon works, you will know that all these carbon they get trapped underground. And when you extract fossil fuel from there, you are releasing
the
more carbon. All right, carbon dioxide
Right.
into the atmosphere.
And that's bad, isn't
and
it?
that's bad because
Okay.
it's excessive emissions, right?
Yeah.
And that causes global warming. So if students at a very young age are introduced to this concept that matter, environment, our human activities are all connected, then you will be much more mindful on how do I proceed from here. Instead of thinking, oh no, I'm just burning this here. I'm not destroying the forest.
Yeah.
I let the forest be there, but I'm just mining the ground for oil, for whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that because nature, like I said, is connected. They don't work in silos. We do, but not nature. Yeah. So the concept of in the early days, they think humans are a part of nature. That's the old world order of thinking.
Right.
Humans are a part of nature. But no, we are part of nature. We are not apart from nature. We are a part of nature. So what you do will have implications.
Yeah.
A very good example that I'm going to share with you is plastic waste.
Yeah.
Okay.
When plastic waste gets into the ocean, over time they disintegrate. They turn into microplastics. And then they get consumed by the fish. And then it stays inside the fish. It becomes part of the fish in the blood system and everything, the muscle and everything. Then you capture the fish, the fishery industry. And then you sell it. And then people buy, people eat it. Now you're consuming plastic.
Correct.
It's coming back one whole cycle. So when we tell people to live sustainably by not using single-use plastic, it's not about we're trying to save turtles from getting choked on
fishing nets.
straws
Or the
and
straws up the
plastic.
nose.
It's not that. It's coming back to you.
But that's the thing. I mean, that one is not fully emphasized, because
It
they
is
think
now.
It is now?
Yeah, it is
okay,
now.
because I still see, you still can get plastics for 5 cents, which is ridiculous because people would rather just pay, for their convenience.
So change in behavior
Takes time.
takes time.
And enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
'cause-
in Singapore, especially in our
Singapore,
context,
yeah,
it's
correct.
always enforcement, right? Yeah. Incentive for enforcement.
Yeah.
But change takes time. So through these educational programs that I do, when we infuse sustainability concept, conservation, biodiversity, and all those, we hope that the audience live with a change mindset. I don't expect you to be a crazy conservationist, tree hugger, and whatever. I expect you to start small first. Bring your own bag when you go to the supermarket to buy things. Start small, doable. Then progressively move on to the next level from there. Yeah. Because you have to manage your expectations also. Yeah. Because human behavior is very difficult to change.
Correct.
Yeah. So it has to be done gradually. And it's a linear process. You see? Yeah.
Some critics say, why bother us, individual consumers? Why not go after the industrial criminals?
You imagine, based on that logic, one person, I use one straw, it won't hurt the world. We are reaching 10 billion humans in probably 2 decades' time or earlier, at the rate we are going now. Imagine if 10 billion humans say, I, one person, using plastic will not destroy the earth. That's a lot of plastics, you know. So that mindset change is very important. Corporations will change when society demands change. If I don't want to buy plastic, they are not going to produce plastics. I mean, you look at cars these days, automobile industry. Suddenly in Singapore, battery cars are everywhere. Electric cars, EVs, right? So people are trying to shift from fossil fuel to clean energy, they say. But we don't know the impact of clean energy, just like EVs, you know? Because you need to mine nickel to make the batteries.
And what do you do with those?
And how do
old
you
batteries?
know that the mining process is actually sustainable? Because sustainability requires a whole supply chain of change. You know, it's not just one person being sustainable, everyone else along the chain is unsustainable. It doesn't work like that. So it's a long process because it's still new. Electric vehicles have been going around for at least 2-3 decades. In Europe, it's a normal a mode of transport choice now. You know, it's becoming big here because you know, naturally Singapore is always late for everything, right?
No, we are very careful.
We are very careful.
So we look, see
we have to
first.
observe, see whether it makes sense.
That's one good thing about us. We don't really do a lot of a knee-jerk reaction to certain things. We wait, we observe, we see,
analyze.
we analyze, and then
we follow
go.
the best practice, we improve on
Exactly,
it. Right?
Yeah, by the time nobody needs a car.
Which is true, actually. These
Serious,
days,
my parking is like, oh my God, so empty. Nobody drives anymore.
you know, with all these sheltered walkways and different buses and train lines across all our neighborhoods and city centers, you don't really need a car.
I think, without sounding too boastful, Singapore is probably the only country where you can go to work on a rainy day.
Yes.
No need to carry umbrella and you don't get wet.
Possible.
Agreed.
Yeah. I went through that myself. It is.
And then, like, you know, sometimes when it rains, people say, I don't go out and it's raining. Then I think, hey, but it's all sheltered.
I used to work in an office in Tanjung Pagar. It was sheltered all the way.
Right? Tanjung Pagar especially.
Yeah, especially in our CBD
Underground.
areas. You know? So we are quite fortunate, but it's also because, you know, small size, small population, you know, very deep pockets. You know? So a lot of all these social infrastructures, we can do it very, very well.
We are talking about planning and strategies. I just realized, and I remember I want to ask you this. Do you guys notice that our roadsides are getting bushier? What I mean by that is previously it's all grass and landscaped. Now they have this rewilding.
Yes.
Is it done? Why is it done
I
so?
noticed this as well, and I can only say it's probably because of what happened during COVID. When
it was left on
not being able to go to work, everyone was locked at home. Nobody's out there to go and cut grass and this and that, right? All the wildflowers starts to grow.
Right, and people
and then
realize,
you get to see, I never knew there is this flower bush in front of my house.
Correct.
I've never seen this particular of butterfly fluttering around my house.
Yes.
You see? So you see, nature is also very balanced, very resilient. Okay? Give them chance to recover, nature will recover and come back.
Not just
And
trees.
COVID was
All
the
the
best example.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just in Singapore, elsewhere around the world.
as well, right?
Yeah. You see, wildlife starts appearing. You know, they can readapt, and that's a good, clear indicator that if we do take this very seriously, we want to slow down, we can, and nature can catch up.
Yeah.
You see,
Agreed.
but if you want to keep going at breakneck speed, then it's very difficult because a lot of people, the argument is, yeah, there were extinctions back then. There were climate change back then. Yeah, but the rate at which these things happened back then was very slow.
Yeah, very slow. Correct.
in this era, they call it the Anthropocene, the human age.
Era.
The rate of destruction has been sped up. So it's much faster than the natural rate of change in nature.
Right.
Yeah, we had climatic change back then, of course. You had an ice age.
Yeah.
But how long did it take the world, the earth to actually come to that stage, you know? We now are doing it much faster. Faster than the entire natural system can adapt and cope. Yeah, that's the problem. So regarding your comment on the bush and the whatever in the road divider, yeah, I think it's because they saw benefits to that. You know, previously the argument was, if I let it grow, people will throw rubbish in there. Then I can't see those rubbish, and then they get rainwater, they get contaminated, and then you know mosquito breeding. So again, Singapore, very practical, very pragmatic. Nothing wrong with that. These are real solutions, and we went through that. Malaria infestation and everything is really
it's real. It's a real thing. Yeah,
you see, but this is where eco-literacy comes in. It teaches you how to look at things in a balanced way. Yeah.
Even our Singapore Zoo, if you can remember, like previously, and then now it's like one jungle. Everywhere you go is like bushes and trees, and you can get lost, right? Previously, what I remember was a lot more open space, meant more for people to walk, but now more for the animals.
I think our green attractions in Singapore has evolved tremendously. It's also because new knowledge is present. Technology is available. Technical know-how on how to maintain green spaces are already there also. So with all these affordances, we can turn our attraction into more sustainable spaces, into more eco-friendly spaces. You see, you look at, let's say, Gardens by the Bay. Large sprawling areas. It's not just about kebun bunga, you go there and take photo with your family and picnic. No, now you have authors making use of that space. You have photographers going there to take photos of exotic birds, migrant birds, coming over.
Correct.
Yeah, Sungai Buloh is a good example for that.
Sungai Buloh
so
I think that one all because of COVID lah. Seriously.
not really COVID.
Not really. They planned it.
These are intentional. These changes are intentional. Yeah. And we have to keep up with the times because the green revolution is picking up right now. People are becoming more and more aware of the need to be green,
Partly also because people are a bit more, exposed, and because okay, why I say because of COVID, because really we couldn't travel, right? So we were so bored at home, we tried to sneak out, and where else can we go, right, without being caught?
Pretend to jog and everything. Suddenly everyone's an athlete, everyone's a jogger.
Correct. So there's a lot of interest, that pick from there.
So you see, when you do this intentionally like that, although it's unintentional, the intention was to get out from the house, cabin fever, right? So you get to see all these green spaces, and because of eco-literacy, people are becoming more aware of how I want to see nature, how I want to be in nature. That connectedness is very important. That's why we also emphasize place-based learning. Place-based learning is very important. And it's not limited to just nature spaces. Place-based learning is also multidisciplinary. You can learn about languages in different places. You go to Kampung Glam, you learn about Malay culture. You go to Chinatown, Chinese culture, Little India, Indian culture. All right. If you go to nature spaces, place-based learning will teach you about sustainability, coexistence with nature, wildlife, about conservation. So place-based learning is also important because it helps to build that relationship, that connectedness between the people and the place. Because if you don't have a connection to that place, you're not going to be interested about it. And whatever happens to it, you don't care.
True.
So that's why things like national service, for example, that's very important. You create that sense of belonging, that stakeholdership of every citizen, that this is my country and I want to defend it, right? if you extrapolate that into the school setting where students are brought on learning journeys to all these different places, then that helps to create the connection with them
Yeah.
to many other places in Singapore, not limited to discipline. You can learn geography, you
Yeah.
can learn social study, languages, to all these places. It's very interesting.
This outdoor experiential learning and stuff like that. Is it Singapore only awakening or also countries in the region?
We actually had outdoor education, all right, in the 60s. It started back then because we were building up our military.
Okay.
So there was an emphasis on building up rugged individualism
Right.
amongst our youth, our young men, preparing to go national service. You cannot get all the lembik fella to go lah, Yeah. So you have to be tough, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So it was already happening back then, but back then the focus was more on physicality. Building resilience and physical toughness. But it has evolved over time to focus on leadership, to focus on confidence building, to focus on learning about how you interact and live with nature, to focus on sustainability. So outdoor education has evolved and developed over time in Singapore into a very robust component for people to study. And we're quite late in that sense. But if you're looking at the region, Hong Kong, Taiwan, they are way ahead of us. Yeah, because for most of these big countries, they are an agrarian society. They still have farmlands.
Right.
Yeah.
They still have intact forests,
Yep.
and all those things. So people need to be in the outdoor more frequently
Yeah.
and deal with it. You see, the original gangsters of eco-literacy are actually people who live within the needs of the land.
Yeah.
Your farmers, your tribal communities.
Your eco warriors.
Yeah.
These are the original eco warriors. Because they know if I don't practice these sustainable methods of agriculture, for example, it's going to affect me in the future.
True. I somehow was able to get involved in some community work. These people in the deep up north of Sumatra. So they are the outskirts of the Lusa National Park.
Lusa National Park.
So there's a lot of animal conflicts. And one of the things that I learned from them was that the local guys, they were saying palm oil plantation, because it's so commercialized, everybody wants to do it, but it destroys that area of theirs because it consumes too much water per plant while you're growing and all those kind of things, right? And a lot of these smaller farmers, they got enticed. They turned their small little farms, and the repercussion was very bad economically. They can't sustain it and stuff like that. So these, like you said, these people are the ones that now teaching these farmers go back to our original farming, where you do different crops for different times, right? So it is sustainable. So correct. It brings me to that. The real eco warriors are these people who are on the ground battling climate change, battling groundwater, river runoff and stuff like that.
Palm oil is not native here, by the way. They are from Africa.
South Africa, right?
Yeah,
They
are from Africa. They were brought here to replace rubber as cash crop.
Crash crops, yeah.
And rubber is not native too.
native, yeah.
Rubber was from Brazil,
Yes,
South
that's true.
America.
Yeah.
True.
Our good friend Henley really brought it
Yes,
over.
correct, yes.
Yeah. So you see, the transition is there. People are becoming more aware. People are becoming more particular and sensitive to natural cycles. If you bring in something that is not part of the ecosystem, it cannot go on being normal for a very long time. It is going to affect the entire ecosystem as a whole. Yeah. So through this knowledge, through this exposure, through these initiatives and support, whether NGOs or government, the change is happening. Yeah, but like I said, it cannot be done overnight. It has to take a lot of time to see a lot of visible successes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have to be very how how should I say this? To sustain this, we need to have that stamina.
Yeah, resilient.
Yeah, that resilience. Yeah. Because once you lose it and say,
Yeah,
so long,
exactly.
Go on lah.
Talking about
Exactly, because coming from, you're the educator, and then you have all these different people with different mindset, how do you keep, educating them or informing them about all these changes that need to be, they need to embrace all these things, and put it into practice.
It is challenging.
not easy.
It is not easy. But you see, changing a mindset, like I said, cannot be done overnight.
Yep.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you yourself as a practitioner must be convinced that this will work.
Okay.
If you're doing this because you needed a job, it won't last. Because you will lose that interest. You're not even convinced by it yourself. But if you are convinced by it, you are passionate about it, you can see what others cannot see of the implication 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you give them that scenario continuously like a broken record, again and again and again. Hopefully, one or two people gets it, gets on board, come up with something innovative. You've done it. You see? And that multiplier effect is very, very important. Yeah. It is impossible to influence and engage everyone on change. Nobody likes change.
Yeah. Yep.
Nobody likes
It's true.
change.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
It's good.
Yep.
It's good and fast and easy to do bad things.
Yeah.
But to do good things,
takes time.
where you have to put in effort,
Yeah.
that takes time.
So this whole lifelong
And we
journey
don't
of
have that
yours-
much time.
We don't have
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you are a lifelong,
Learner.
Learner,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So what's next after this Malay literacy course? Are you gonna go and
Malay literature. why not
literature?
Malay literacy.
Malay
Malay
literature.
literature.
Malay literature.
Yeah, Malay language and literature. That's the
Right.
program.
Malay
That's the
language
program.
and literature course. Yeah. Are you gonna pursue any new?
It depends on what comes my way, what I can see as a valuable complement to what I have. A lot of people say, why are you doing language and teaching about nature? What's the connection?
Yeah.
There is always a connection. You have to make that,
that
connection,
connection.
work. You cannot sit and wait for things to be served to you on a platter all the time. You have to consistently think, how else can I improve and better what I currently
Yeah.
have? How else can I incorporate something that can complement what I currently have? Because that is the only way to remain relevant.
Yeah.
Whether in the working world as a for your career or as an individual, how do I remain relevant to my family, to my community, to my country? How do I remain relevant?
Do you face any challenges working with the millennials?
Always. They are a problem.
But I tell you, the older generations would say the same thing about us.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
Every generation. have a-
Generational gap has always been a problem across all the
All,
generations. Our grandfathers will have problems working with our parents. Our parents will
parents
have
have-
problem working with people like us.
Correct.
We will have problem working with
Our
our
children.
children.
Generation.
Yeah.
It's like that because the change happens every generation. And if you don't keep yourself relevant to these changes, and you want to sit in, on your comfort zone, it's very difficult, lah. It's not about I'm working for somebody, I have to be like that. No, even as your own boss, if you don't embrace change, your business will die.
Yeah.
Yep.
So change is the only constant
Yes.
that we have to
Especially
go through.
in Singapore.
Yeah, regardless. I feel it's
Regardless,
it's
yeah.
not just in Singapore. I went to recently. I went to Thailand. Went to the national park, Khao Sok National Park. Not promoting that place for anyone. I really like that place.
Oh.
I get to see the helmeted hornbills. Very, very difficult bird to spot, and they're very skittish. Most of the time, you hear them. You don't see them.
How big are they?
With a very long tail, about a meter and a half.
Oh, wow.
It's big.
Yeah, it's a very big bird.
Because the ones that I see in Singapore,
Those are the
not so big.
oriental small,
Yeah.
oriental pied hornbill. Those are the smallest of the hornbill. That's why the Malay name is enggang kelingking.
Sounds so obscene. Clinking.
Tahu kelingking
No
apa?
lah, kelingking ni lah
Kelingking,
kan.
macam mana
Ya.
yang
But it
terkecil.
sounds, I said sounds.
Yeah, you know. Hornbill is enggang,
Hornbill.
right?
Right.
Kelingking is your finger. lah.
Yeah.
So it's the smallest of the hornbill species, at least within this region,
Right.
not
Right.
counting the ones in Africa. But because hornbills are found both in Asia and Africa. Okay, these are the two continents you'll find hornbills, not in South America. Yeah, so within the Malay world, of all the hornbills that you can find within Southeast Asia, this one is the smallest. That's why they call it clinking, referring to your pinky finger. Yeah, so it's a beautiful place, and they have leverage on the lushnesss of the rainforest there and the man-made dam.
Oh.
Yeah. And they have what they call
We have a lot of
floating
man-made.
bungalows now. Floating bungalows where, completely devoid of any form of technology. Hard to get reception.
Oh. Wow.
Your Wi-Fi and your whatever. And it's a good thing because it forces you to be detached
Right.
from technology.
So it's like a national park.
It is a national park. Yeah, you are within the national park, and then you move around taking boats. You can kayak right through. And the stillness of the water, of the environment, allows you to really hear sounds of nature.
That will be my next
You should go.
yes.
Really, very nice. Very, very nice.
Okay.
Yeah. wonderful.
Holiday will be there.
Ra-
Okay.
Wrap up.
Yeah. Any last words
1 minute,
for
1 minute,
fellow
1 minute.
learners?
For those of you who are picking up new skills, regardless in whichever field that you are, don't give up. Convince yourself that you can do something with it. Think of ways to fit it into your future plans and go ahead with it. Do not hesitate.
Thank
Wise
you.
words.
Yeah, very.
Now they give 4,000, right? Skills Future got 4,000.
To take out any
To take
skills
out.
courses. Thank you, Haniman, for your time and your very
Insightful,
insightful,
interesting.
interesting and wise words.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Shah. Thank you, Salin.
I feel so educated.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I
Always-
feel like going for that Malay literature
You
language
should.
course.
It's very good.
Okay.
You can get a grant from MCI. So.
That's the important thing.
Oh, okay. We shall look
cool.
into it. I shall look into it. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Do drop us a comment if you need to hear more about Haniman. I'm sure he's more than happy to share his knowledge. Otherwise, we'll see you the next round with another interesting person.
Bye.
Bye.